1 hour away, 6:13. How you all doing? Doing okay? I hope we're not 1 hour away, inflammatory in any way. That we're not trying to exacerbate an already. I hope we're not 1 hour away, inflammatory in any way situation. That we're not trying to, and I hope that the information we're providing already, especially we're not 1 hour away, the non-news situation. That such we're not trying to, and I hope that the information we're providing already take, especially we're not 1 hour away, seriously. And by seriously, how you all doing is, and I hope not to discount we're providing already, not to make us especially we're not to say, oh, we all did all of this, we did all of that, we spent all of this and all of that. For that, that's a moment of celebration, not disdain. We should be thankful if we get 30 centimeters of a tsunami. We should be grateful if we have 1 meter. Because I'm telling you right now, you do not want to get caught unprepared. We talked about Hilo with John not too long ago. The Tsunami Museum in Hilo. It is absolutely mind-opening of what the potentiality is of tsunamis. Tsunamis, out of all of them, it gives you the most time. Normally. There was an earthquake in Chile. We had time. Earthquake in Japan. We had time. Russia. Again, we have time. But the devastation, potential or actual, isn't any different with time. Still happens. So, I'm very thankful that you, as our friends, do, in fact, have a serious nature, take into consideration, make responsible decisions, and I'm saying this right now. If, in fact, 710, 717 passes, and we are spared significant or any damage at all, I'm raising my hand to the Lord and thanking Him for sparing our community. It's not going to be, oh my gosh, you made us do this and we heard nothing. We heard all about this all day. We had stand in traffic all this time and we went out and bought gas we didn't need, and I went and got 400 rolls of toilet paper, and what are we going to do with them now? And that's not what this is about. I know there's a lot of divisiveness and different points, black and white and blue and brown and all of this. But the one thing that we should have commonality in, and that is preservation. And given the challenges that we are exposed to in our island state, that will take those incidents with great import. I don't want to bring up Iniki all the time in reference to these discussions, but in 1992, I was in Waikiki wrapping up a broadcast at High Steakhouse. And it was all about Iniki. And we all thought, after it made the southern pass, and then I believe it was trade winds or that helped in the diversion to the north and headed right to the south shore of Oahu. Remember that? Then at the literal last moment, it makes that left jog. Still affected some lee areas, but not with the direct force that our friends on Kauai experienced. Anything can happen. And that's why we want to be with you till the point in time. We want to be with you at any point, for any reason, and staying connected together in any way. This is live coverage on News Radio 830 KHVH and on Fox Sports 990. Rick Amato with you. I'd like to open it up once again. We are just under 1 hour away. Your telephone calls, have you navigated, since we've been together on the air, have you navigated traffic? Have you made your way through? Are you at your destination? Home, friends, other locales? Sharing your thoughts, your commentary. And we'd appreciate it if you would join us. Now, did I miss something? Did I fully miss Governor Josh and the state? John and I are going, hold on. Hold on. Well, we're doing our best. And we're still monitoring to ensure. Let me do this. Just a few announcements that we would air during the KHON2 news. Oh, wait a minute. They're all up. What's going on?
Here in any moment, they're returning to the podium where we had an update from the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency and the governor and his emergency officials telling us what they are preparing for, what they think they can expect. We'll be breaking away to their podium here
is at the podium.
Several times, a very significant earthquake off of Kamchatka, creating a wave. Important data point, when the wave passed through Midway Atoll, it was in total from peak to trough, trough to peak, 6 feet. That means a 3-foot wave riding on the top of the ocean. And that was the piece of data we got just a few moments ago. We're tracking the wave at several different points. As I said, at Johnson Atoll, we had that wave at 3 feet amplitude. We will also be getting data from Wake Island, and the Aleutians are seeing some waves. And then finally, French Frigate Shoals at 6:33 p.m. We expect more data. Guam will see some waves at 6:57 p.m., but we are still expecting this significant wave. So everyone has to continue to be vigilant. There are a few other things that I need to report as to the evacuation that should be maintained absolutely beyond the waves hit on our island shores. We will only give the all clear when we feel there's total safety. We have begun coordination for additional people. The homeless coordination has been ongoing. We're making sure individuals without houses are notified of the tsunami warning and they're being removed from the areas. That coordination is going on all islands. We're working with service providers everywhere. I will say, once again, this is a very serious event. We have Blackhawks activated. We have high water vehicles ready to go. So we will be able to rescue people, but please do not put yourself in harm's way. Make sure you actually evacuate right now. We're going to have another update from everyone soon at 6:50. You'll hear one more alarm, remember, at 6:40. That's 30 minutes out from when the first wave is expected to hit Kauai. And that will be the last alarm you'll have. But we will give constant updates. I'm going to turn it over now to General Logan.
Aloha and good evening. Thank you, Governor. So the Hawaii National Guard remains postured, as I described earlier. We've placed liaison officers into all the emergency management agencies within all the counties to create a near real-time response capability. We also have additional forces that have been activated. The governor touched on this, but we have high water vehicles, which are those with large tires, big engines, that can do a variety of different mission sets, and we have soldiers that are already manning those. We also have additional aircraft placed into an alert capacity with crews that can do a variety of mission sets, which are medevac, search and rescue, and hoist operations to rescue folks and take them to a hospital care facility or a point of care. I want to reiterate something that Governor Green said is we're not out of the woods yet. We're collecting data as the wave or the energy passes through some of the other islands. We're in constant contact with all of our partners, either on the mainland or within here, our state of Hawaii, the greater part of the Department of Defense, and also transmitting data to our National Guard headquarters on the mainland. So I ask everybody to remain vigilant, take this seriously, and wait until you get the all clear signal, or we reduce the warning to a lower level from either your state or your county official government sources. Thank you very much.
Mahalo, Tag. Up next, Hawaii Emergency Management Agency Administrator James Barros.
All right, aloha. As we move this evacuation from those zones, we want to ensure that you're doing it safely and you're not panicking. You have time to get out of the inundation zone. The counties are working their sheltering plan and opening up tsunami assembly areas. So work with your counties, go to your county websites and see what shelters are being opened. The state is posturing that if needed, we can provide additional support post-impact at the shelters. I have opened the line of communication with FEMA, so we're on several calls so far. FEMA's postured to support the state at this time. Thank you.
Mahalo, Administrator Barros. Finally, we will bring up the Director of Business, Economic Development and Tourism, James Kunane Tokioka.
Mahalo. Aloha. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I will give an update on the visitor industry and what we're doing to the visitors that are here in Hawaii and informing them. I've been in contact with Jerry Gibson from the Hawaii Hotel Alliance and Jeff Wagner. We leaned on them during the Maui wildfire to help us, so we're leaning on them now. And the properties that are along the coastline are being asked to evacuate vertically, 4 floors and above. Some of the people have left the hotels, and the ones that have left the hotels to go to the airport, if they need a place to stay, when the airport is shut down, if it is shut down, then they should call the property that they came from to see if there is still availability at that property so they can go back there. I want to ensure that their friends and family on the mainland understand that there is a plan, and I think we need to give the governor and Administrator Barros and General Logan, big kudos, because there was a lot of training that went on after the wildfires, and this is a perfect opportunity for us to put those training, what we learned in training, into place. So thank you all for that, and be patient with each other. God bless you all.
Mahalo, Director Tokioka. At this time, we will open up for questions from the media, and I will call upon everyone one at a time. And I'm going to start with Ashley from Hawaii Public Radio.
Can you talk about what it means, what a 6-foot wave kind of means? Like, can you give some type of, reference point for people as to what that's going to look like?
So the question is asking, can we clarify and kind of give deeper details to what a 6-foot wave means?
Sure.
I think that's a very important question to clarify. So when we describe this wave, it's probably more accurate to describe it as having an amplitude of 3 feet above its base. When the water pulls back from a tsunami, you have the base drop. That becomes the trough of a wave to a peak, which is higher. That full distance from peak to trough is 6 feet. This would be 3-foot wave riding across the top of the surf. I wanted to remind people, this is not just like a wave comes off the shore, a 3-foot wave smacks down on the beach. This is a longitudinal wave with great force driving through the shoreline and into land. That's why we ask people to evacuate very far back. People asked if there was a generic way to describe how far you have to get away from the shoreline. To be absolutely safe, it's at least 4,000 feet. That's the better part, that's 4/5 of a mile, basically. That's why these inundation zones, which you can see on the map, which show red, are not just a few feet off of the shoreline. It is, again, not just a 3-foot wave. It is a forceful wall of water that will move across the shoreline and into the community if we ultimately get hit by this tsunami. We will get extra information as we go. It was described to us that it is impossible to predict until we get closer exactly how large the wave. It could be significantly larger than that, and it also could be smaller. We're aware of that. A little bit of history, just so people know real quickly. In 1946, before we had alarms, on tragically April Fool's Day in 1946, the tsunami hit Hilo. It was started by an earthquake that was 8.6. This one is larger. It took 4.5 hours to hit Hawaii. That year, we lost 159 loved ones. It was the middle of the day. Another tsunami that came in 1960 that hit Hilo, also there, came from Chile. It was a 9.5 magnitude, which is an extraordinarily large earthquake. That was on May 22nd, 1960. Took out 500 homes. That caused a 35-foot wave. It happened at 1 a.m. in the morning, which is why we lost 61 loved ones that year. So we will not be out of the woods until we come past first the wave that strikes Kauai, and then we'll see where it inundates along the rest of the shoreline. Again, it will not just hit some parts of the island. It should probably spread around the islands. And so you can expect waves everywhere, provided that tsunami does hit as we expect.
Andrew, Honolulu Star-Advertiser.
You answered a couple of questions I had already. What about electric utilities? At least Hawaiian Electric says they're coordinating with emergency management folks. Is there a plan for the power companies to preemptively shut off power sometime before the expected arrival time?
So the question is around public utilities and whether or not there will be a shut-off, electricity.
So we are in constant communication with HECO. Right now, the protocol is not for them to shut off, but we're in constant comms with them that if we see it impacting worse than what we anticipate, then we'll ask them to go into a shutdown. But we're having conversations with them.
Also, as it was described to me, we can expect the wave to hit poles, and usually poles will go down. We expect significant debris. If we end up having a 3-foot or larger tsunami come through communities, there are going to be significant amounts of debris that can damage these poles. They will be out in force immediately once they get the all clear. They will also have to wait for the all clear because we can't afford to lose anyone driving along the roads, and we also don't want to send the wrong message. Anyone could be confused by seeing, anyone other than General's team out there. You can expect everyone to stay off the road, but we will do search and rescue throughout.
Le'ui, KITV4.
Andrew had my question about the electric grid. So my question is, what specific criteria moving forward, whether it be seismic activity, are you guys looking at to lower the threshold of the tsunami warning and going down?
So it's a request to describe sort of the criteria for how we move down from a warning moving forward? Mike.
first part. The first part will be the actual progression of the waves. So at 6:50, which is about 17 minutes from now, we'll resume our next meeting. We're probably getting data almost as we speak from Wake Island, and then the French frigate shoals. That was expected in this moment. So they'll be giving us some extra wave data. But that first wave will hit around 7:10, and it could take as long as 30 minutes for the waves, is my understanding, to hit other parts of the islands. So we'll be able to give kind of constant updates about where the waves are. As you can imagine, there are going to be people out there communicating on social media. Again, please just stay home. Let the waves ride out, let the energy dissipate, and then we'll be able to give people a full accounting of when the time is to stand down.
Again, I'll just reiterate, we're going to leave it to the science. And the folks that are at the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center are well-versed and well-experienced in all of these types of activities. They're gathering data, like the governor said, from some of the other land masses and the buoys and the deep ocean sensors. And we're going to rely on them to advise us. I don't anticipate it to be immediate as the waves first start hitting the parts of our state at 7-10 hours. So it may take several hours after that to see that amplification and see it dissipate. But rest assured that immediately upon learning that, we're going to put that information out through a variety of different media, to include the media that we have here today, so that people can try to get their lives and return to normalcy. Thank you.
I'll go to Daryl Huff, Hawaii News Now.
When you talk about a 3-foot wave, how does that compare to the ones that caused the great damage in Hilo? And also, how certain are you about that measurement? Can people look at it and rely on that when they look at, say, a tsunami map? Is there any reason for people to go beyond what the tsunami maps tell them about where they should evacuate?
So lots packed into that question. So it's a question around describing that 3-foot wave and the impact in comparison to past history, which I think the governor shared.
A little bit more, yeah. Okay, so the comparative waves, the wave in 1960, when we had the giant earthquake off of Chile, was gigantic. It was a 35-foot wave. I mean, that was a total destruction wave. It came and wiped out houses completely. Right now, the first indication we had, the first small crest, was actually just 30 centimeters, about 1 foot, and then that was followed ultimately by 6 feet from peak to trough, okay? So that 30 centimeters, I believe, was the peak to trough of initial. Now we had a 6 foot. We continue to get data. It can come in like several kind of waves of water. It usually goes in cycles of about 20 minutes is how they are seeing these this forceful water come through. This is not, we pray, going to be anywhere near like that tragic tsunami in 1960. And we'll give updated measurements as soon as we hear specifically what the French frigate shoals show. That's going to be helpful. As we hear those data, we'll be able to push some of that out perhaps on social media. We'll come back out again repeatedly throughout. But soon we're going to see the wave. In about 3 minutes, everyone can expect the final siren, which is 6:40, and then we will hopefully see everyone out of harm's way, and we'll begin to tell you how the waves actually hit.
One final question from Daryl.
So given the size of this wave, what is the vulnerable infrastructure other than the electric grid?
So given the size of the wave, what is the vulnerable infrastructure besides the electric grid?
A couple quick things, and then I'll have General come up. I mean, this is about 3 feet, okay? But a wave of water, that means it can move cars. It will throw fences around. If it hits, it can dislodge trees. That's why you just can't be out there. The impact is at great speed. Any structure that gets loose and strikes an individual could take them out. And people can drown quite easily with the force of that kind of wave. So, again, people have to really distinguish the waves we are accustomed to on the coast every day versus a tsunami. It's a different beast altogether. And of course, if it gets much larger, they do anticipate it could be larger. That's why they get multiple measurements. It's even more dangerous, even more forceful. Houses will be damaged. There will be debris all over the place if we do get a full tsunami.
Yeah, the federal government classifies critical infrastructure into 16 separate categories. About 13 are relevant to the state of Hawaii. One in particular is what we call transportation. It's broken down into either airport, highways, or harbors. As you know, all of our harbors are at sea level and are vulnerable. We don't know what those impacts are going to be, and we're constantly evaluating those, because not just a tsunami here, but a hurricane could have similar effects. Most of our airports are also near sea level, except for some of the smaller ones. So it's good that we have the Department of Transportation participatory in the update meetings that we're having, so they can anticipate what those impacts might be. And then we have plans in place to try to assist to get those back operational as quickly as possible. The governor did talk about many of our road networks are near sea level in our coastal regions, and quite possibly to the road itself, or all the power lines and all the other infrastructure that goes along with it may be impacted by some type of wave or tsunami system. So we're careful about that. We don't have a compiled list together yet, but in just about every hazard that we have, it's incorporated into our all hazards plan, and we're either going to be directly able to help assist in its recovery, or call in additional assets as necessary.
Expect in one moment the next alarm, so why don't we actually pause now, and we'll come back to you in short order. We should have more data, but if we don't come back to you, just please everyone be very safe, and we'll begin to report on the waves as we get direct observations. Kind of around, we still anticipate 30 minutes from now, around 7:10. Thank you for being safe.
That was just really good information provided by the governor there and officials about the first measurements that they got from Midway Atoll. The wave measuring 6 feet, but across the ocean 3 feet. And they say that it doesn't sound as large. However, do not be mistaken, because these are tsunami waves, different from a surf wave. They push inland and they also wrap around the island.
Yeah. I want to thank HNN and John Matthews in our studio. John,
and there it goes.
We were waiting for the alert to sound, and it is sounding as we speak.
Cell phones across the state. So as the governor was saying, this is going to be the last one. It is the last warning because they expect first wave, Hanalei area around 7:10, and then moving down the island chain 7:17 for Oahu, and then further down for Maui and the Big Island. But some interesting information from this final press conference before the event itself. And we here at News Radio 830 KHVH will be here with you throughout this entire time. So here we are. It's the waiting game now.
Well, we're holding on tight. And just to describe where we are, I mentioned we're in the palatial studios of News Radio 830 KHVH, nestled deep in the bosom of downtown Iwalei. And consequently, the view from News Radio, John, we look out the window. What do we see?
Blue skies, nice sunset.
Well,
and
maybe not today.
And Honolulu Harbor as well. So some activity going on down there. But for the most part, we've spent these last 3 hours now, 3+ hours. We're coming up on hour number 4 here, because we hit the radio when 2:45 this afternoon when this was upgraded to a warning. And this is, as we said before, this is a benefit for everybody that we have this worldwide network. Governor made mention that, the Hilo tsunamis from 1946 and 60, you didn't have this kind of warning. Maybe we had a caller earlier. I don't think he made it on the air. I think we had to dive off to another press conference, but he talked about an incident that happened in the 50s when he was 4 years old. And it was basically his dad was a Coast Guard pilot and had heard the warning from their weather people. And he came home and he grabbed the 4-year-old, him, and then his brother, and got the heck out of there. And sure enough, it was the waves came up and in to where their home was, because they were on the coast out in the other side. So anyway, I thought it was also important that the governor reiterated that this is not a 3-foot wave. Right, not a wave like we see every single day, every 24/7, 365. It is a longitudinal wave. It is a huge mass of energy and water that moves. And he said that, no matter what shore you're on, even though this is coming from north of us, a peninsula in Russia, northwest of us, expect the wraparound for all islands from the energy from this wave. And it's why we have the buoys. We'll, in this last half hour or so, we have plenty more buoys out in the ocean closer to Hawaii than we do way out 1,000, 1,500 miles. So we're going to be getting a lot more data in. We will keep you updated as we get that data in here on News Radio 830 KHVH, along with our television partners at KHON2.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're headed to 6:44 in the evening, and 7:17 is the time that we're anticipating, 7:10 for landfall here in our state. Presumably the Honolulu area is where we're anticipating that. Thank you for the mentioning. The buoys, the checkpoints, there'll be more information. The closer it comes, the more precise. But perhaps right now, there's a little bit of wiggle room, but we'll get a more narrow speculation as it approaches.
Yeah, and we still have traffic on the roads as people are trying to get themselves out of the way. We were talking earlier a little bit about like the repetition of information. Remember, some of the places that we're talking about here, very well known to us, places like the road to Hana, right? That curls along the north shore of Maui, or Honolulu itself. I mean, remember, Honolulu is 2-lane road in and out. That's all you got. And unless there's some organization and getting the word out and getting people out of that particular zone, in a repetition fashion, what's going on, what's happening, you can't just say it once. You have to say it over and over again. And, fortunately, with the advance of cell phones and other communication technologies and people texting you, did you hear what's going on? Listen to News Radio 830 KHVH. They're talking about it now. Or however you get the information, the word has gotten out much more efficiently than before.
Mayor is speaking once again. Let's listen in.
Traffic. Okay, tell them they've got to be very careful because we can't have the lights. I don't know how many patrol officers we have out there to direct traffic. Be careful, but you can go out on a one-way street and head Mauka. So with that, I'd like to bring up Chief Anik.
Thank you, Mayor. So the first thing I'd like to say is just to echo what the Mayor said is make sure you're listening to the first responders. If they're giving you directions, definitely if they're telling you to evacuate. If they're giving you directions to drive in a direction, follow their directions. The next thing I'd like to ask and tell you is if you don't need to be on the roads, don't be on the roads. If you've arrived at a safe location, like if it's your house, a friend's house, a shelter, or just somewhere safe, stay there. And stay there until it's safe. If you don't need to be on the roads, don't be on the roads. Stay there until you get the all clear. And then finally, if you don't need to call 911, don't inundate the 911 system. We have a lot of officers out there. They're responding to emergencies. So if you don't need to call 911, unless, of course, it's an emergency, stay off the 911 system because we need our officers to be able to respond to actual emergencies and calls for 911. With that, let me turn it over to Director Roger Martin.
Yes, thank you. I know it's been a rough day on the highways today. The good news is it seems to be we're clearing a little bit, but but since 2 p.m. we have been adjusting our traffic lights to facilitate Mauka Makai travel, and we're continuing to do that. In addition, HPD has been getting their officers to give directions right on the street. My message really is we're half an hour out from when we anticipate this wave to hit. If you're on an east-west coastal highway, now is the time to calculate, are you going to be on high ground? And if you're not, if you have any doubts, you need to get up Mauka side immediately because that's where we're going to have a problem is on our coastal highways, on Kamehameha, on Farrington, on other highways around the island. So that's the message that we have is if police on downtown areas are facilitating travel up. It's been a rough day. I know it took a long time for people to get out, but now's the time to get to high ground.
Aloha. Randall Collins with the Department of Emergency Management would like to reinforce inland and upward. Get to a safe zone. Get out of the tsunami area and get to a safe area. That is the number one message. The second message is to stay informed. There is one place to get accurate information, and that is at hnlalert.gov. There's no www. It's just hnlalert.gov in your browser. not only can you get information there about the tsunami zone areas and where we have activated our tsunami assembly areas, you can sign up and stay informed as we continue to text out information and message information through that application. So hnlalert.gov. Would like to thank the mayor for his leadership. We have enacted proclaimed a local state of emergency that has opened up all the funding and all the resources and all the decisions that we need to make sure that we can keep people safe. And so with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Ireland.
Good evening, Jim Ireland, Department of Emergency Services. EMS has had a really busy afternoon and early evening. I want to thank all our paramedics, dispatchers, and EMTs for just all the hard work that they've done today. We have an emergency plan for this type of scenario. We will stop potentially responding and may not be able to respond into the inundations zones as we get closer to the predicted wave arrival, and that time has already passed. So for emergencies that are in the inundation zone or near the inundation zone, we may or may not be able to respond over the next 45 minutes and potentially longer until we get the all clear. EMS has had a variety of calls today, just like any other day, but we've had, it seems like an excessive amounts of traffic accidents. We had a critical accident up in Laie, another accident in Wailua, as well as Pearl City. So just wanted to echo what the others said as far as just taking your time, drive safely, be careful, because we don't want to tie up ambulances and resources for preventable accidents like traffic accidents. So be careful. Again, heed the warnings. Get to higher ground now. This is all good advice, but we're really coming in really close now to the predicted wave time. So as we get closer, again, EMS may or may not be able to respond to a call in the inundation zone. CORE, which is also in my department, has been very busy. Since about 4 o'clock today, they've been going to coastal areas to help inform and give notice of evacuations to our homeless encampments and populations in these areas. They haven't been able to hit everywhere on the island, but they've tried to hit the busiest and most populous areas for the homeless. So again, a very busy afternoon and potentially evening for EMS. We have called in extra resources. Our ambulance bus is staffed if we need that later, and we'll be standing by with everybody else to see what exact impact this event will bring over the next few hours. Thank you. Yeah.
Accurate information can save lives, okay? So, as I've said repeatedly throughout the breaks today, watching your television stations, stay in tune as long as we have power. Please do that. Provide good information. What Randy said about hnlalert.gov, absolute source of correct information. So I want to caution everybody, because I've already seen some social media stuff out there. We're talking about a circumstance right now that we really cannot predict, but we know one thing for certain. If it hits, okay, it can affect lives. It's strong enough, the potential of that. We want you to be accurately informed. As you can see from what you heard in the state report and our city report, we're doing everything we possibly can to help you. So please, stick with the accurate information. Don't be deceived by all kinds of stuff. Look to your sources here, and I promise you we'll continue to update you, not just after the wave hits, if in fact it actually hits, or what happens throughout the night, because just so you know, and I've been through this before, the wave is expected to be here 7:10 in Kauai, a few minutes after that on the island of Oahu. But we might not get an all clear for hours, because that's how these perform. March 11, 2011, that's exactly what happened. We were due at 3:17 in the morning, and at midway, it was a 6-foot wave. It was a 6-foot wave traveling 550 miles an hour. And we were not looking at a good situation. Tonight, they didn't talk about the speed, except we were being told by the civil defense people that this is going to be really bad. Okay, that was then. So it turned out we had some damage. The waves came in, they receded back out, and went back in. They did it 4 or 5 times, and they kept telling us the next one could be big. We did not get an all clear for a wave that was supposed to hit us till 3:17 until 11 a.m. the next morning. So we don't know what kind of an evening we're in for, but you want to pay attention. You want accurate information. This could save your life. I promise you, all of us will do everything we possibly can to help everybody out there, but you also have to help us too. So pay attention to that. And one last time, okay, if you're anywhere near the water, get out of there. Get to high ground. Okay? Thank you. Any questions?
A lot of people park like on Atlas and mountain areas, kind of waiting.
Yeah.
So I know you said it's hard to predict for a timeline, but a lot of them will see that initial wave and then say, okay, we're good. So what can you tell them? They want to get
Well, I think that they want to go to H&L Alert, and we'll be talking to people with that. If all they have is cell phones, assuming they're not watching, they can't watch television, or maybe they have some kind of reception there, or to any of the station's websites. But stick with accurate information, and we'll keep you folks advised, too, as to what people should do. We're going to just, Lynn, in this situation, we cannot over-communicate. We all know that. We're going to try to do that as reliable and as a detailed way as we possibly can. So I know last time, because people did the same exact thing, and that's what we've been encouraging. People didn't come down from the mountain until after sunrise. A lot of people stayed up there. You want to stay until you get told that it's safe to come down. That's what I would tell people. Wait until you find out it's safe to come down, because as I said earlier, that last time on March 11th, if you remember, that tsunami was in Japan. It was the most televised tsunami ever, because it was daytime, cameras everywhere, and it was almost surreal watching what was going on. And so while I choose not to think about the worst happening, at this point in time, in this hour, I want to be as conservative as we possibly can in the spirit of saving people's lives. So information is very, very important. Okay, we don't know what we're dealing with right now. Within minutes, we probably will, and we'll go from there, and we'll keep you posted. If you're in a safe place, stay there until somebody tells you to leave. Yes, ma'am. Well, we're going to have to see what the extent of it is. I think, we've got everybody out there between HPD, our fire department, our first responders, EMS, Jim is here. We're going to be on full alert. I mean, we're going to try to do everything we possibly can. And you heard the governor say the same thing with all services here. We're all in this together in a moment like this. We will do everything we have with the available resources we have to respond the way people would hope we would respond. That's the best I can tell you. Right now, I'm hoping for the best. We're trying to prepare for the worst. We're hoping for the best. Yes. Yeah, I'll bring up Jim on as far as the tools. Okay, thank you.
Well, from our standpoint in EMS, we have ambulances, ground ambulances, SUVs. So those are our tools. But I think in the earlier press conference from the governor, he talked about his air assets and the National Guard being on standby. And I can't speak for the Honolulu Fire Department, but they also have air assets. So when we are in a rescue situation, we have seen the air assets for lots of different agencies here and across the country, whether it's National Guard, Coast Guard, or the Fire Department, be able to do rescues where ground vehicles can't get in. So besides what we have available to respond on the ground, there are those air assets for those other agencies, not ours.
Yeah, and I would like to add, I spoke to Admiral Reagan earlier from the Coast Guard, and they've deployed all of their assets out into the ocean. They're hitting around all the coastlines, and they're also going to be readily available, which is a great resource as well to complement our other resources. Anybody else, guys? Anybody here? Anything else you want to add? Is there anything else?
Mayor, so Dr. Arlen said that they can't send their ambulance crews into the zone right now. Is that the same with HPD and with HFD just because of the danger to those?
The question is, can we send our HFD or an HPD into the zones that Jim said we're going to keep out of right now if they're in danger zones? Is that right, Wayne?
Yes.
Our officers are dedicated, and they're going to put themselves in danger like they do every single day. But I'm going to tell you right now, if there's a 6-foot wave coming at 500 feet per second or whatever it is, I don't think I'd blame them if they don't go rushing into that. But what I will tell you is that our officers are highly dedicated, and as a matter of fact, we've kept back all of our daytime officers. We called in our nighttime officers early. They're not actually even supposed to start until 9 o'clock, but all of them came in early. So we have way more than 100% working right now, and that just goes to show their commitment. I have full pride that they're all in, working really hard. All of our support units are in. We'll do what we need to do to make sure that we keep the public safe. and I want to assure you that we're there for you to keep the public safe. And if you need us, we'll be there. We'll answer that call for service.
Yes, just an update on some of the highways. Some of our highway routes have been closed. HPD is enforcing closures on Farrington Highway at Waimea Street, at Fort Weaver Road at North Road, no Mackay-bound, ocean-bound traffic, and Fort Weaver Road at Papipi Road, no Mackay ocean-bound traffic is being let through at this point. So be on the lookout. There could be other closures that occur as the officers in the field deem necessary. But those are three that we know of that we're just advising the public.
Any other questions? I want to thank you and all the media outlets for staying on this all afternoon like this and continuing to broadcast here. And let's just all hope for the best, okay? You have a big responsibility, and we're here to answer whatever questions, but we need your help, too, in reaching the people, and I thank you for that. Again, stay away from social media. No false information. Deal with accuracy. It can make all the difference. Okay? Thank you.
And there you have it. It was a revisitation to the city and county of Honolulu, taking us to 7 p.m., which means we are within 10 to 17 minutes, with Honolulu, the arrival in 10, Oahu in 7. We are KHVH Honolulu. Good evening. My name is Rick Amata. John Matthews on board as well.
Also
John?
On KIKI Honolulu, special case. These times we'll tie the stations together because this is of much more importance right now with the arrival of this tsunami. No matter how big or small it is, we promised we'd be here through it, and we are here right now. I thought, as I was watching this, I thought it was a great thing that that they mentioned the supplies, like people wanting to go out and get supplies and things like that. It's just, no matter how big or small this thing ends up being, it's great to actually remind people that you will have, that you should have this stuff on hand. We have another interview.
KHON2 Pacific.
Very large earthquake
Tsunami
off the coast
warning
of Kamchatka that's north of Japan this afternoon about 1:25 p.m. Hawaii time. And so we've been monitoring the tsunami as it's been crossing the Pacific towards Hawaii. And our models kept telling us that this was going to be a warning level threat for Hawaii. So we did issue a warning for Hawaii a few hours ago. Now we're just in the process of monitoring, and just within the last half hour, the waves got to Midway Island, which is the northernmost island of the Northwest Hawaiian Islands, and we're measuring about at least a few minutes ago. It was about the sea level went down by about 3 feet below normal sea level there, and then again up by about 3 feet. But there will be several cycles of the wave as it crosses Midway Island, and the fact that wave is more or less what our models predicted for Midway means our models are probably right on for this earthquake, and we're in danger of along our coast here of having tsunami flood the land and be a danger to people at the coast.
Are there any differences between Midway versus the Hawaiian island chain that could affect the way that this wave will impact?
There are some big differences. So Midway is a fairly small atoll, and so those waves have a very long wavelength, and they wrap around the atoll rather than run up on the atoll. But the Hawaiian Islands there's a big archipelago of these islands, and the bathymetry all around our islands comes up, and it helps the waves. Well, it doesn't help them, but it causes the waves to rise in their size. So we expect much bigger amplitudes on our islands than you would on Midway.
And what exactly are you expecting here? And is it different island by island?
Well, the size of the tsunami can vary quite a bit from one place to the next. But yes, we're expecting in along several places in our Hawaiian Islands that waves will be 10 feet or more above normal sea level. And this is, of course, we're all used to the surf, so 10-foot surf doesn't seem like a big deal. Why is that a hazard? But these waves are not short waves like surf waves. They're very long, so it's like sea level will rise up, stay high, maybe for 5-10 minutes before it starts dropping. And there can be many waves. The first one may not be the largest.
One thing that I wanted to ask is how long will this warning last? Because it's, like you said, there are series of waves that could impact.
Yeah, and when the tsunami crosses the state, the waves get reflected and refracted around our islands. So the hazard could go on for quite a while. We can't predict exactly, but at least several hours we will be in a warning state. And we will be monitoring gauges all across the state to see as things start to die down. We would reduce the alert level from a warning to an advisory, and then many hours after that, we'll see they're really small, and then we can cancel the entire thing. But our reduction in the alert level and even our cancellation doesn't mean it's safe to resume normal activities and go into those areas. You need to take your cues from Hawaii and state and county emergency management agencies, because they're the ones that will be checking these areas out to make sure they're safe.
Got it. Thank you so much, Doctor. We'll be coming back to you throughout the evening. So be sure to stay tuned to all of your local news.
And that's a great thing with the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. And they're very STEM about this. There's no alliteration or exaggeration. It's very A, B, C, D, and then expect E, F, G. And I thought he gave a very coherent and very comprehensive explanation of what we're facing.
Sober. Like it's a sober explanation that is the facts.
Very straightforward, too. 7:04, the estimate is 6 minutes in Hanalei.
And you heard what he said. 3-foot drop in sea level at Midway, and then rose by 3 foot above the normal sea level. So that 6-foot model that they were speaking of throughout the afternoon seems like it's holding firm. He couldn't say for 100% that was absolutely going to be it. He said, there could be differences between the islands, but he was fairly confident in their computer modeling of this, which is in and of itself kind of an amazing thing. That this is kind of what we'll experience. Now, how far that means that water will come in, will it cover like a Waikiki beach? Will it cover, what the wraparound was going to be? All these sorts of things, we're on the precipice of finding out.
It is 7:05. I am putting a call to our good friends on Kauai, specifically Hanalei. If you are dialed in, and you are with us on News Radio 830 KHVH, I would encourage you that if you are able to drop us a call and provide to us a first-hand look at what is transpiring. Wave estimated arrival 7:10 p.m. Hanalei. Could it be to the minute? Who knows? But that is the estimate that we have now. Johnston Atoll reporting 3 feet.
Lots of force behind it.
Lots of force behind it. That's exactly right. And that's what the report is, the very latest from HNN. And I would love if you are in the Kauai area and could give us a first-hand report. We'd be very interested to see and hear from you if you would be able to do so. In the meantime, though, News Radio 830 KHVH, we will remain with you minimally to 8 p.m. However, given the situation and it demands, we will obviously stay with you throughout the evening as long as it takes. John Matthews, Rick Amata, and it is already 7:07. John, thoughts with 5 minutes to go?
Well, it feels like we've built up to this gigantic moment, and now we're all sitting on the edge. Just again, with the sober analysis, we mentioned the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, but I thought Mayor Rick, who is obviously here with us most days, he's not even supposed to. He was supposed to be on a trip to Japan. So. And that was in the news, but it's, of great fortune that he is here leading his team in the city and city and county of Honolulu. And that sober analysis as well from him. You could tell that he was in charge of that room, keeping everybody on point with information. And answering the questions. And I think that's been a hallmark of his administration, really, when it comes to events like this, even stretching back into COVID. You may not have agreed, but at least he was clear in his communication about that situation. He tries to be clear with his communication when he's here on the radio with us on Wednesday mornings, and you heard it again in the thick of what is an anticipated event now 3 to 4 minutes away for Kauai and about 10 minutes away for Oahu. Mm-hmm. So that is greatly appreciated in leadership, for sure. A lot of clear information. Now, the governor is doing his as well at the state level. And that's fine, but I think people, when you talk about first responders and others, people want to know, are the police going to be there? Are the emergency services going to be there? And I think that's what the mayor did a great job communicating in that press conference, no matter what the outcome is, that they're staged and ready.
One of the bottom lines, and again, we are monitoring and literally moments away from the anticipated arrival of the initial wave, is to make this very clear. We appreciate you, our friends who dial us up, and in times of trial, come to us and trust us to bring you news, information, and more. And I want to thank you so much if you're dialed in now. I also want to encourage you that at any point, share your thought, your comment, questions, observations at any point throughout the rest of our coverage, because it's so very valuable to hear what's on your mind, what's priority for you, and to have an open forum in times where there are concerns. So take us up on the offer, 521-8383. And this is also true for our friends dialed in at Fox Sports 990, same telephone number, and be a part of the program and connect with people that are joining us as you are as well. The idea of a tsunami is chilling. You mentioned that word in the context of other natural inclement, disastrous situations. It's a tsunami. You do have a lot of lead time, but brother, when you're talking about water rushing in at hundreds of miles an hour, the power and force of water is unbelievable.
All true.
Unbelievable. Earthquakes, you may get a second or two. I don't know if you really do. When I lived in an earthquake zone, the earthquakes we had, you couldn't tell when it was coming. It just did. And it could do a certain level of just incredible damage. I've been through tornadoes. I've been also through hurricanes in the Caribbean. Tsunamis, it's kind of a little different breed. There's no prevention. There's nothing you can do. Wildfires, clear the brush. Tornadoes, you know when they're forming, you know when the watch is, and you know the warnings, and you do have time. But I'm telling you, it gets back to tsunamis being of a great challenge. I'm going to turn it over to Hawaii News Now because they have visual of Hanalei. It is 7:11 p.m. Let's take a listen.
Drew and I have been looking at this, and we just see something that appeared off in the distance, right at the edge of that point, where you can see some what looks like white caps. I don't know if that could be like something that is basically artifacts off the camera or whatnot. But one thing I'm also looking at very closely is the actual water line, the shoreline there. Not seeing anything. And again, 7:10 was the estimated time of arrival. And so that's, again, as it indicates, it's an estimate. It can be faster, it can be longer. It just kind of depends on what this had to travel through, and also the kind of earthquake that it was, because then it depends on how quickly it was pushed over. But no doubt, it does travel very quickly in the ocean. there's nothing there to basically hold it back. So we're looking again, speed of a jetliner, but at the moment that area of white really hasn't moved an awful lot. So we're not quite sure.
Okay, let me go to Poipu.
That we'll see any hint of what's going to happen. Now already the waves have passed Midway and Wake Island. We have a couple of buoy readings from there. The official buoy in the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center's measurements from Midway was 1 foot above normal sea level. From Wake Island was 0.7 feet above normal sea level. The center is saying that amplitude is measured relative to normal sea level, not crest to trough of a wave. That said, despite this being the buoy reading, Chip, the gentleman in charge of Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, said that they had recorded a 3-foot differential. There is a little bit of a difference there. Take him at his word. He's been watching this like a hawk all day. We have, again, a dart buoy telling us 1 foot from Midway. The gentleman in charge adding to that a 3-footer coming out of Midway, and clarifying to our Bryce Moore the difference in our topography and why Hawaii can be different and can amplify those waves even more.
And that's why what he said was so concerning when he said that we were potentially going to be seeing areas seeing over 10-foot waves.
Yeah, and again, there should be, and there has historically been a bulletin with locations and possible wave height. So we're crossing our fingers for that sooner rather than later as we look at what is previous. This is now Waikiki. And there they are, folks, right at the beach.
This is incredibly dangerous. Do not repeat this behavior. This is irresponsible, and this is not the place to be. They should not be there.
Look, we have a tsunami warning from the Central Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. The state has practically shut down. And we have ports that are closed. Hilo Airport scaling back operations. I believe they are closed.
They are closed.
Right? We have potential closures of airports, including or scale back Kahului as well as H&L at this point, maybe more. Folks, when you got the governor going on TV, when you got the mayor going on TV, you got the police chief, you have all the county mayors telling you, hey, this is not the place to be. Those warnings should be heeded. And I hope somebody sometime in the future has a good talk, because you are playing with life and death here.
And state and county officials.
All right, okay, they're having conniptions. There are like 6 or 7 people on the beach in Waikiki. Let's go back to Hawaii News Now.
Island. It's coming from the west and northwest. Russia's off to the northwest of the island chain. We've been showing that map of just completely open water. So we have to see a little bit of a wraparound. First, it hits the Nepali coast and then starts to move into Hanalei Bay, move down the western and leeward coast of Kauai. So we are going to continue to see how this evolves.
And Drew and Ben, talk about the impact of, I know this earthquake, 8.8 earthquake off the eastern coast of Russia, had the depth of 46 miles down. Now, talk about how that plays a role in the strength and power of wave.
Well, usually the deeper an earthquake is centered, the less likely it will cause an earthquake. It will cause a tsunami, rather. However, it kind of depends on the type of earthquake. Drew had explained earlier, if it's a slip, not too bad. If it is a thrust earthquake that goes straight up and that pushes a whole column of water up, that's one of the things that we were seeing in the Thailand earthquake, the devastating, I believe it was 2006 earthquake. Might have been, I might have to check on the date there, but the one that devastated so many places like Indonesia and on Christmas Eve of that year. Right now, Hanalei not really showing anything, but then again, 710 was an estimated arrival. There was a wave that was recorded, according to Haima officials, at the buoy at Midway Atoll. So depending on how...
All right, so I'm just going with coverage to hear what the latest is. It is now 7:17. That was the anticipated time of arrival of the first wave here in Honolulu. And that was the level of expectation. There is a wave that is still expected at Hanalei to be imminently arriving. And again, to put exact minutes on something of nature can be challenging. But we monitor, we look, and we see what is taking place. Let me go back to HNN, anticipating the arrival of a wave on Oahu. However, it would be Hanalei first, then us. So let's see what's up.
Like this, because you had a 6-hour notice, for the boaters to head out to the open ocean, for residents and visitors to head to different evacuation sites right now. So we're keeping a very close eye. Live look at Honolulu Harbor. It's 7:18 right now, 8 minutes after the first wave was expected, and the epicenter, so to speak. When something like this, the first area of focus is Hanalei Bay on Kauai. We still have some daylight out right now to keep a close eye on this. Now, Drew and Ben and Jen as well, as we're looking at these images here, what should our viewers be paying attention to in regards to the water movement and activity?
Sorry, before you guys answer, can we switch over now to this live look at Waikiki, where we might be able to detect more changes in the water here, and you can definitely see a clear view of the coastline, and definitely empty there. Earlier shots, right, Mark, when you guys began the coverage right after the tsunami warning, the beaches were crowded. You can see that is not the case right now. They heeded the warning. Mayor Rick Blangiardi said, if you're anywhere near the coastline, get out.
And I think it's important to note just generally the ocean conditions right now. We do have a small craft advisory. We have strong trade winds. We also have a rising swell on south-facing shores and east-facing shores. We're seeing wave heights expected today at 3 to 5. And this is wave heights alone, waves that you surf, not the tsunami itself. East-facing shores at 2 to 4. So you could kind of see in some of these shots, there does seem to be some disruption, some rip currents that are happening, strong currents that are happening. So very interesting as we look at these live shots, since it's not, it's traveled so many miles to get here so far with the epicenter just off the coast of Russia and giving us that 6-hour window to get here. We are likely going to be seeing on a smaller scale of a tsunami, but still a lot of energy. But it's really hard to predict how the wave direction is going to be impacting some of the spots. But like we're talking about, the shape of Hilo Bay itself historically has caused damage in the past, especially for boats and even along the coastal harbors there. So this is something we're going to have to wait and watch throughout the next couple of hours. The initial wave could be small, but then build up throughout the next couple of hours.
One thing that I'm noticing when we have had tsunamis in the past, when we have shown this shot, this live shot of Coconut Island, usually that little channel between the island and the main part of Hawaii Island, you can see a current that is going in and out. We haven't seen that yet in Hilo, obviously. Right now, here's another live look at Hanalei Bay. And whatever was happening off in the distance might have been a camera artifact. Haven't seen it off in the distance anymore, off at the point. But we are still seeing some currents that, that still indicates some sort of activity. The shoreline right now, the water has not receded, but there is, again, as Jen mentioned, the possibility that maybe the first wave, not so big, but again, it's a series of waves. We had in 2011, huge waves start coming in and impacting the Kailua Kona area, causing major damage to the shops on Ali'i Drive, and that was like 4 or 5 hours after the initial waves had hit Oahu. And so we're not in the clear yet. It's not a single wave.
That's true. It's not always.
And I'm going to go to KHON2.
But tonight, in fact, as we were walking there early, it was very reminiscent of COVID. And that's what reminded us and a couple of the people that we came across that it hasn't been since COVID, that you've seen things just so starkly empty. So, right now, we have this view over Kailua Beach. To our right, we have Flat Island. The home's owner has said one of the last tsunamis that happened years back, the water actually came up and over Flat Island. I hope that doesn't happen because it's a nesting area for seabirds, and there are likely tons of nests in there and perhaps eggs. I don't know if this is the exact season where these birds are nesting. Our photographer is panning over to Flat Island right now. But this is a place where a lot of swimmers and kayakers during the day paddle out to and walk around. There's a little bit of a trail, and you want to stay on the path because you don't want to disturb any of the wildlife. But right now, we haven't noticed anything out of the usual. The boat ramp is also a good barometer to keep an eye on if all of a sudden that gets covered up. But right now, visually, nothing has changed, and it'll probably be light out for another 15 or 20 minutes that we'll be able to see what's happening below. But obviously, if anything happens on this side, we'll let you know as you guys got your eyes all over the state.
And once again, over to HNN.
To ask about the military ships, they would not say what the military ships are doing, and so we're trying to get official word on what those battleships are doing. But again, the U.S. Coast Guard has ordered the evacuation of all commercial vessels from every harbor in the state of Hawaii. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Mahealani, for that. And so we were monitoring those live cameras, and we still, during Mahea's report, we have not noticed anything that sticks out just yet. But just before we went to Mahea, Ben Gutierrez just mentioned what is really important, and that is the reason why, even though this timeline, it has passed, it's not the time to go back to the beach if you're curious, because we have not seen anything noticeable. It is a series of waves. That's what a tsunami wave is. It is not just one, and it is not a surf wave. It wraps around the island.
Yeah, it's not a singular event. This is an hours-long event, right? Right? And we're looking at this, this is something where you're watching very closely. You're looking at the changes in the water activity. Now, as the sun has gone down already, who knows how much this shot is going to change, what we'll be able to see right now as we're staying on our Hanalei cam. We are constantly refreshing, making sure it is the most up-to-date image and the most accurate representation of Hanalei Bay. As the reports have come down, as the updates have come down, Hanalei emerged as kind of the first site that was going to be seeing any sort of activity.
I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of jump in for a moment. And I want to thank you so very much for your continuation of being with us as we continue our coverage. The cautionary tale is this. If there were those that were expecting virulent wave longitudinally crashing into our beaches and into our shores, and it didn't happen at 7:10 or at 7:17, that is not the end of this story. There is a composition of a series. As a matter of fact, in 2011, it took several hours to issue an all clear. Now, are there folks that are shaking their heads and you're disappointed and here we go again? Yeah, I know there are folks that are doing that. However, if you're a gambler, well, you won. But gambling with safety, property, and lives, not for me. I take the information, I take the directive, I take experience, and I'll discern what is the appropriate thing to do. And it's siding on the side of caution. Now, this is not officially over. So what I'll do at the bottom of the hour, which is about 4 minutes away, I'm going to turn it over to our regularly scheduled programming. I will remain here in monitoring what is taking place, and we will interlope into the program to bring you developments that have form, function, and that is something that we should all know about. As of this moment, the initial wave anticipated times, those times have passed. The monitoring, despite buoy information, has not come to fruition at least in the monitoring in areas such as Hanalei, Poipu, here at home in Waikiki, also Kailua, but we are still going to keep this top of mind. Please do not revert to going back to a regular mobility and locations. Be patient, sit tight, and we will bring you up to speed if there are any additional developments. And that could happen in any moment. It could happen an hour from now. The fact remains, this is still a warning condition where an all clear has not been given. I want to thank you all very much for being with us. I hope you'll remain with us. Be sure and join me tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., Rick Amato program, and we'll review, cover, converse of what has transpired today. As mentioned, I'm anticipating that we will resume regularly scheduled programming. However, John Matthews and I will be monitoring, and when it is apparent that perhaps that time has appropriately passed, then we'll conclude our live coverage. If there is a compelling reason to continue, we definitely will. As of right now, still monitoring. There has not been any substantial wave arrivals, but that was the initial set that was anticipated, and the anticipation is for additional waves in this series to still arrive. If we get back together again, we shall. If we don't, I'm Rick Amato on behalf of John Matthews, and we thank you for joining us today.
The natural world develops slowly,
forming over the course of millennia.
In our world, developments.
We have a developing situation.
Happen fast.
The latest developments.
Today's developments.
This is just developing out of the Middle East.
Check in often.
Their ability to develop a nuclear weapon
has been neutralized. But for how long?
For what's developing.
Quite a striking development.
Now.
Right now.
It's developing.
On News Radio 830, KHVH.
This is a Fox News alert. I'm Sue Guzman. Pastor Robert Jeffries in Honolulu, Hawaii, as a tsunami heads their way.
It's not panic, but there's real, genuine concern.
Hawaii Department of Emergency Management saying it expects the first waves to hit the Kauai coast first, and then the rest of the island 20 to 33 minutes later. Residents along the coast have been evacuating Hawaii's Governor Josh Green.
It is not a regular wave. It will actually kill you if you get hit by a tsunami.
This was sparked by an 8.8 magnitude earthquake in eastern Russia. The entire west coast under tsunami advisory. Vigil held in New York City Tuesday night to remember those killed in Monday night's mass shooting at a Midtown office building, and the Senate has confirmed President Trump's former personal lawyer, Emile Beauvais, is a federal appeals court judge. This has been a Fox News alert. I'm Sue Guzman.
Check out Behind the Flow, a podcast documentary series following the launch of San Diego Football Club.
San Diego coming to MLS is going to be a game changer because this region has been hungry for a men's professional soccer team.
We need to embrace this community.
Listen to San Diego FC Behind the Flow on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Open your free iHeart app and search Behind the Flow and start listening.
Doug. Here we have the Limu Emu in its natural habitat, helping people customize their car insurance and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Fascinating. It's accompanied by his natural ally, Doug.
Limu? Is that guy with the binoculars watching us?
Cut the camera. They see us.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.